Hey everybody, Michael from RogueDeckBuilder.com here, doing just a little update video before I show you guys a match that I had played with my Rug Tempo Storm deck. Pretty much just calling it Rug Bounce, I guess you could call it. Quite a few large changes. I took out the Battlefield Thaumaturge. It was just it was a little bit too cute with Frost Breath and stuff like that. And the synergy between that card and some of the other cards, like, it relied too much on having those cards in hand. So, like, if I played Thaumaturge and I didn't have Frost Breath, or I didn't have some of my other cards that utilized him, it wasn't as effective, and I wanted to reduce that and make the deck a little bit more consistent and play and have a little bit more utility to the deck to be able to deal with a wider range of threats and have more answers to things, essentially, not just creatures. So I took out Battlefield Thaumaturge. He just was sort of underperforming, and this just wasn't the right deck for him, but that's what testing's for. And on the surface it looks good, but once you actually get into testing, you get stomped essentially. So that was one major change. Another major change is I reduced Jace to a 2 of, and I added Kiora. So this was actually a pretty nice addition. I'm really glad I actually did it. This gives the deck a lot more ways of defending itself, or one extra way of defending itself, I guess, is a better way of putting it. Because Jace is better against aggressive matchups and like weenie matchups, it is really good in that sense, but it's not good against larger threats like Desecration Demon or things of that nature. So Kiora fills in that spot, and if we can get them both on board, we can essentially really slow down the damage that we're taking and force our opponent to deal with them before actually killing us, which essentially buys us enough time to actually get our own threats online. Jace is also an extra way for us to draw cards and look and search for answers, because we do have quite a few spells that we have for a variety of different situations. So when we need to look for specific cards, we are able to dig with Jace and hopefully grab them through there. Same with Kiora. I mean, Kiora still locks down certain creatures like Lifebane Zombie, Desecration Demon, Advent the Worm, just a lot of creatures that are hard for us to deal with. And she also comes with a way for us to dig for cards, so we can use her -1 ability to draw a card, and it also gives us an additional way of ramping into some of our other threats if we need to, as well as hitting Stormbreath Dragon Monstrosity faster. So in the control matchup as well, Kiora also gives an additional win condition for us. If we're able to protect her long enough to actually get her ultimate off, it is much harder for the control player to deal with that, considering you can't get rid of emblems once they're on the field. So that is why in the sideboard I did make some changes as well to accommodate what we have included. But before we get to the sideboard, I will talk about some of the changes I made to the instances and sorcery cards, because that was quite a few different things there. I lowered Aetherize to 1 because I just want it for the blow-up potential, because we took out... I wanted it for the blow-up potential, essentially, and it was more just came down to making room for other things, such as the charms. So Izzet Charm and Simic Charm are what we added. I took out the Frost Breaths. It was just very underwhelming, and the only reason I wanted to play that card was with Battlefield Thaumaturge. So because we took out Thaumaturge, Frost Breath was not as efficient. And I wanted a little bit more utility in this deck, so the charms really come in handy in that sense that Izzet Charm, we're going to be using all of its modes. It gives us a way to slow down like green red monsters to deal with their Elvish Mystics or other creatures that have 2 toughness. It gives us a way to counter Planeswalkers, problematic instances. It also gives us a way to cycle cards, and hopefully, again, if we're looking to draw into certain answers, it allows us to dig through 2 draws, and it also helps us fix our hand if we're a little bit land flooded or we're looking for land. It allows us to hopefully draw those and then discard some of the cards that we don't need in that situation. So we make use out of everything here, and it's overall a really good charm here. Same with Simic Charm. We make use out of all the effects. +3/+3 is good for trading with creatures. We're getting that last bit of damage in, especially since we have Niv Mizzet and Stormbreath Dragon as ways to have evasion. Giving those guys +3/+3 is a large amount of damage in one turn. Also, giving our permanence hexproof is also nice since, in the control matchup, everyone's running like detention spheres plus banishing light now. So we can at least protect not only our creatures, but our planeswalkers as well with this. As well as even against wrath effects, Simic Charm allows us to bounce our own creatures back to our hand if we want to protect them. This is actually really helpful in like control matchups or any matchups that run Elspeth, for example, that use the -3 to get rid of Stormbreath Dragon. We can actually make them use the -3 and knock Elspeth to 1, but in response to that trigger, we can actually bounce our own Stormbreath Dragon back to our hand and have it ready to go on our turn to kill off their Elspeth right away, or just get in that last bit of damage if they happen to be close to dying. So very, very solid card, and I think it's one of the more underrated charms in Standard right now. I also added in Voyage's End. It's another nice way for us to bounce creatures. I didn't want a third Cyclonic Rift just because Voyage's End, again, it gives us another way to bounce our own creatures if we need to, but it gives us also a scry on top of that. And scrying, having an additional scry without playing an additional come in tapped land is actually pretty nice in this deck. And I'm actually in this kind of deck where it likes a wide range of answers. Having some one-ofs is actually, I think, the way to go. And having one-ofs in your deck isn't a bad idea when it comes to decks like this, when a lot of my instances sort of do the same thing in a lot of situations, but they do it in different ways, and it gives the deck a little bit of variation and helps it in that sense where it makes things a little bit more unexpected, I guess you could say. Same with Kiora. I think it's a really nice one of there. For the sideboard, I actually added in 2 Anger of the Gods. This is because I think, again, Standard might speed up a bit, and if you watch the last Star City Games Open, Brave Naya is actually becoming quite a large deck, and Anger of the Gods really helps in keeping that on the down low. Sylvan Caryatid does die to it, and so does Prophet of Krufix, but other than that, we really don't have any other creatures that die to Anger of the Gods. So, I mean, it's worth it if we can just reset the board to trade off maybe like a couple Sylvan Caryatids for that. I also took out, let's see, what did I take out? I took out the 2 Dispel and the Disperse to add in, as well as 1 Scavenging Ooze, to add in 2 Swansong and 2 Unravel Aether. I wanted a way to deal with enchantments once they're on the board, because I don't want to be holding up mana all the time for counters, and Unravel Aether really helps with that, being able to deal with gods especially. Swansong is actually one of the more underrated counters, I think, and this is the type of deck that really does not care about a 2/2 flying token, especially considering tokens don't go back to players' hands, so it turns all of our bounce spells into removals essentially for that 2/2 token, and being able to counter, especially against like Naya, hexproof, being able to counter their enchantments, like ethereal armor is huge for them, so being able to get rid of that and counter it is very, very nice for us, and then we can follow that up with like an Anger of the Gods or something to just wipe their whole board and start fresh. It also is really good against the control matchup when we can deal with every single major spell they have in their deck, essentially. Detention Sphere, Banishing Light, Sphinx's Revelation, doesn't really matter what they have. We're able to deal with it thanks to Swansong, and leaving up 1 mana is very hard to read, I guess you could say. Not many people think that people are going to be running counters with only 1 mana up. Like, it may come across their mind, but the chances of people running it are less likely than if they had 2 or 3 mana up for like Syncopate or Dissolve or something like that. So Swansong can really take people off guard in that sense, and it also can come in a wide range of decks, which is what I really like about it. So yeah, those are the changes I made. They're a lot better, and I am running this version in the games that I'm about to show you guys. So let me know what you guys think of the games, as well as any other suggestions you might possibly have for this deck. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.